Good afternoon. This is Dr. Martha Simmons with another session of Preaching and Preachers. Good afternoon. Today, for the first time, I'm trying Restream. So I hope that people are able to get on. Come on in. Come on in. Okay, I can see people coming in. All right, I guess it's working then. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Come on in. Good morning to my people on the West Coast as well. All right, I see people coming on in. We've got such an amazing guest today, and I want to get to as many questions as I can. So I'm to go ahead and start. As always, I am praying for those who are sick, praying for those experiencing a season of bereavement, and we're praying for Gaza. Paying for Gaza. Let me do two quick announcements. First of all, I'm going to just go ahead and plug myself. The book, it's been out about a month now. It's selling well. 500 sermon illustrations. Get you a copy of that. Next Monday, November the 13th, Dr. Gregory Ellison will be my guest, and he's going to talk about mental health and Black folk. So that is a seriously important broadcast. You don't want to miss it. Today, I want you to meet the new president of the Operation Push Coalition and hear about his plans for the organization and how you can help. Our guest for today is the Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes. He's a prophetic pastor, social activist, and educator. For the past 40 years, Dr. Haynes has served as the visionary and innovative senior pastor of Friendship West Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. When he became the pastor in 1983, the church had less than 100 members. I actually remember that. And today, it has more than 12,000 members. In July 2023, Dr. Haynes was named as the president and CEO of the Rainbow Push Coalition, and he is a successor to Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. Dr. Haynes attended Bishop College, where he received his BA. He earned the Master of Divinity from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, and he received a doctorate in ministry from the Graduate Theological Foundation, where he was afforded the opportunity to study at Christ Church, Oxford University, and Oxford, England. He is a committed community active, and in doing that, he's formed alliances with groups throughout Texas, Dallas, and around the country. He is committed to education and has led Friendship West to donate over $3 million to HBCUs. He is just a part of so many things. I don't know how he gets it all done, but we know him from the Conference of National Black Churches. He deals with IC3. He's a part of that conference. He's on the board of trustees for Paul Quinn College, and certainly we know of his work with the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference. Good afternoon, Dr. Haynes.
Good afternoon, my sister. How you doing? So good to see you. Let me thank you, first of all, for, as far as I'm concerned, I was in a conversation with some preachers last week, and we concluded that Dr. Martha Simmons is the pastor to preachers.
Oh my
So
gosh.
thank you so much for being our pastor. Thank you so much for being both a student of the art and craft of Black preaching and a professor of the art and craft of Black preaching. And of course, I can say all of this because we go a long, long way back. And
That's what that song says.
as soon as my mama found out I was talking to you, she said, "You better tell Martha Simmons I said hello."
Well, please give her my love. Please give. That's the one and only Miss Lynetta Haynes Oliver. So please
Oh
give
yeah.
her my love. Let's go to let's get right great. Just get right to it. So we know when you became the president. Tell me, what does that mean? What are your primary duties as the president?
Right. Well, first of all, I am just phenomenally honored. The Reverend Jackson even had his eyes on me, and I've
Mhm.
discovered that he basically has been looking at me for almost 10 years as
Goodness.
his successor. I had no idea, to be
Hmm.
honest with you. And so when he made the official pitch and offer and we started negotiations, that was one of my questions. Okay, so what does it mean to be president and CEO of Rainbow Push? And so what I've come up with, what I'm sharing with you, is both what he shared with me, what our documents say, but also what my own observations about what he has done
Hmm.
suggest. One is president and CEO, of course, that has administrative and visionary responsibilities, administrating the affairs of the organization, ensuring that the organization is organized, at the same time casting a vision for what the organization should look like. That's in summary. So when you talk about any organization,
Hmm.
that is what the president and CEO does. What I've added to it, though, in my own observation of what it means to be a president and CEO of a civil rights organization in this country, when you think of
Hmm.
Jesse Jackson, you think of Martin Luther King Jr., you think of visionaries whose vision was larger than the organization. They had a vision for the nation. I'll even say a
Hmm.
vision for the world. When you talk about beloved community, the vision of
Right.
Martin Luther King Jr., that's not limited to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. That's a
Right.
vision
Right.
that is larger than an organization. And so one of the challenges, and again, when you look at what Reverend Jackson did, 84, 88 especially, he was
Mhm.
casting a vision for what this nation should look like and a
Right.
vision for what the world should look like. And so, as far as I'm concerned, to be true to that legacy of being a civil rights activist leader, but more than that, what those two persons have in common, Martin King, Jesse Jackson, they're both preachers. And so, as preachers, there
Yes.
is a prophetic vision that I believe the president and
Hmm.
CEO of a Rainbow Push is called to cast a prophetic vision, for the nation, a prophetic vision for the world. And so, I've added that to the job description of what it means to be president of this kind of organization.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole lot. Thank each of you for joining me this afternoon with my amazing guest, Dr. Freddie Haynes. When you come in, type in the name of another person and let them know they can watch the broadcast right now. It's going to be up on my page for 2 weeks. They can also watch it in their leisure, but type in the name of another person, so, or tag them as they say, so that they can watch this broadcast. Okay, so you've added to the duties for the president and CEO. Reverend Jackson never had a church.
Right.
Never had a church, and you pastor, and I know that you've discussed this with your leaders and the members of your church and all of that. Tell me about their response. And you know what the people on the street want to know. They want to know, are you going to leave Friendship West and just run Rainbow Push? Tell me about that.
Right. Well, let me answer that immediately. No, I'm not leaving Friendship West. As a matter of fact, when Reverend Jackson was, really engaging me in dialogue about the possibility, one of the things he insisted was that I stay at the church. He said
Hmm.
that, and of course, there are those who know about the whole NAACP piece a few years ago.
Right.
One of the things they wanted me to leave the church. Reverend Jackson
Yeah.
said, "No, don't leave the church. That's your base. That is the base of Rainbow Push. So why would I want you to divorce yourself from what has been the base of our operation?" And so let me quickly hasten to say that Friendship West has been just remarkable in their support. When this got hot and heavy in terms of our conversations, and it looked like we were moving in this direction, I immediately had a meeting with the leadership of the church to let them know this was in play. And I was blown away because they were so excited about the
Wonderful.
possibility. And again, this is before the announcement. So they were hyped, excited about it. One of the things that was said by one of my senior leaders was the fact, well, Pastor, this is what you've been doing anyhow. Now you just have a larger platform, built by an icon in Reverend Jackson to do the work that you've been doing. And then one of
All
my
right.
younger leaders said, yeah, you ain't new to this, you true to this, and we're in this with you. And then what blew me away was that when the announcement came, so many of the members were saying that people would come up to them who knew they were a part of Friendship West, the leadership of Friendship West, and they were congratulating them as if the appointment was theirs. And so what is beautiful is that the church has embraced it, not just as a me thing, but as a we thing. They see it as something that we are doing. And I think that has everything to do with the fact that this has been the work of the church, the mission of the church. And the church sees this as a continuation of what it is God has uniquely called us to do.
All right. All right. That is good news. And so for all the people on the street, you all are clear now. He is not leaving his church. Okay. He's not leaving his church. I'm you say, of course, that your leader, community, people are excited and hyped. I posted about this, of course, as I do each broadcast. And I asked the question, I asked about some of our older national organizations and, whether people are still interested in those, in their ideas. And they said so many people said they were not, because those organizations are not interested in the ideas of young people. They're not interested in having young people lead. I know how long Rainbow Push has been relevant. It was certainly relevant in the eyes of most folk 20 years ago. Why is it still relevant now? Why did you take that job?
Right. And I really appreciate that question. One of the things that has blessed me is that I've had such a warm and energized response from young activists, young civil rights leadership. They are excited about the possibility, mainly because I've spent so much of my life listening to them, following them, engaging with them. And I think that any civil rights organization today or any organization, any Black church that is serious about its life, about its future, it's not just about saying young folk are joining. It's about understanding they have voice, they have vision, they have strong minds, great spirits, great energy. And that's one of the things that in the 2 months since we have been, because we officially started September 1st, my emphasis has been on the fact that we are going to be responsive to, we are going to engage young people because, again, if we're honest, Rainbow Push began as a youth-led organization. Reverend Jackson was in his late 20s when Operation Push was birthed. The civil rights movement was led primarily by young people. When the Birmingham campaign shifted, it was because young folk left school and hit the streets there in Birmingham, Alabama. And so it's really a historical for current civil rights organizations to act like the only folk qualified to lead got to be old. And so for me, I am reaching out to young people. I'm determined that young people, again, not just be in the audience. I want young folk in leadership. I want to hear from young folk because the bottom line is we're facing some new issues today. And the question is Rainbow Push going to be called to the kingdom for such a time as this? That's called the present tense. And so given that backdrop, as far as I'm concerned, what makes Rainbow Push, what will make Rainbow Push relevant is the fact that, and I got to give Reverend Jackson complete credit here, Reverend Jackson built the organization fighting for economic justice, fighting for educational equity, fighting for engagement in the political process. Here's what is so sad. All three of those areas are still vital today. Economically, look at where we are. And you know this better than I do, Reverend Simmons, because you are entrepreneur and involved in the ecclesia and in education. 2053, it's projected that the net wealth of Black people is going to be zero. Right now, the wealth gap between whites and Blacks is 10 to 1.
Zero.
Some say 12 to 1, depending on the economist that you listen to. And so the fact that we need engagement economically, we need to push for economic justice. That still is a relevant piece. I'm on my way as soon as this interview is over out to Toyota because one of the things that we have been doing at Rainbow Push through the years, unfortunately, much of it has been underground, not well known. I was in Ohio last month and went to the headquarters of Honda, the domestic headquarters of Honda. And Honda was talking about the fact that they now find themselves being responsive to the Black community in terms of procurement, C-suite positions for Black people, as well as dealerships, because Reverend Jackson in 2015 threatened to boycott Honda. And all I'm trying to say is I'm on my way out to Toyota right now because we're giving a report card to every organization. Next week is our automotive summit in Detroit. We're giving a report card. What are you doing as it relates to Black-owned dealerships? What are you doing as it relates to C-suite opportunities for Black people? What are you doing as it relates to procurement opportunities for Black businesses? That is economic justice that we are fighting for today that makes us relevant, but also engagement politically. You know this, again, better than I do. We're talking about some 30 to 40 states that in the last 2 years have made it more difficult for us to vote. I'm in an organization where our founder and president registered more people, not just Black people, but people between 84 and 88 to vote than any other person in the history of this country. I'm simply saying we got to do that again, but now we've got to add to registration, education, and then mobilization to get people out, because a lot of folk, watch this, may be registered, but the sad reality is, and I got this at a civil rights summit last month in Cleveland I was addressing, and some people who do data. This is going to blow your mind, Martha. And that is, do you know that since 2012, there are 9.5 million missing Black voters who have not voted since 2012. They voted in 08, they voted in 12, but they didn't in 14, 16, they didn't vote in 18 or 20 or even 22. That means they are what we call the missing Black voters. Here is what got me. Over half of our missing Black voters are suburban. They're in the suburb. You're talking about who? Our, well-to-do, educated Black voters who ain't voted since 2012. And so it's very important then, you talk about the relevance of Rainbow Push, we have to be involved in educating the electorate, but also ensuring that the electorate is mobilized to get to the polls. And here's the beautiful piece, because we're connected to the church. Guess how many of them Black folk are going to Black mega churches in the suburbs? We got to get those suburban mega churches involved and engaged to help mobilize and educate an electorate that has gone ghost on us since the last time they voted for Obama in 2012. And then, again, not just engagement politically, but educationally. We're watching now an all-out war on education for Black and minority kids, so-called minority kids in
Yes.
this country. It's what Jacob Carruthers called historicide, which inevitably leads to what Bobby Wright calls menticide, historicide, menticide, suicide, homicide. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm suggesting Rainbow Push. And don't forget,
Yes.
Rainbow Push got its start with Jesse going to schools and telling schools, I am somebody. My mind is a pearl. I can accomplish anything in the world. We got to get back to the schools, but not just the schools, the school districts, the school board meetings
Yes.
in organized fashion, because the bottom line is we got Moms for Liberty doing everything in their power to snatch the educational process from us. And we have a responsibility as Rainbow Push to again be relevant, to be called for such a time as this. I didn't even get to environment, but the bottom line is not only is Rainbow Push relevant, but we better be relevant, because we are catching hell as a people. There is an all-out war on democracy from the hands of Christo neo-fascists. And the bottom line is Black folk don't have to save this country again.
One more time. So, I mean, you just called the role of so many things that are important in this country and around the world. If you would, and I know this is a hot subject, a hot potato in some instances, give me some of your thoughts on Gaza and what's going on in Gaza.
And I really thank you for that, and for even having the courage to allow us to have a platform to discuss what is a sensitive issue that has been characterized by so much fear and ignorance. And so I begin by saying that God so loved the world, meaning that every life ought to matter. And so I can hurt, and my heart is broken over what happened when those Israelis were killed at that concert. That was evil. It was wrong. And we never, ever are going to say that Israel does not have a right to protect itself. Now, at the same time, I come back and say what has taken place in response has been absolutely evil. The fact that you can kill children and have the nerve to justify the killing of children, the bombing of hospitals, the bombing of refugee camps, and say that Gaza and say that Hamas is hiding behind that. As I saw someone say on yesterday, okay, so if I have my mama being kidnapped by someone, I see my mama, they grab my mama, and they say, are you gonna shoot me because I got your mama I'm holding as a shield in front of me, and I go ahead and shoot my mama to get the enemy? That's asinine, with the emphasis on the prefix of that word. And so what I'm saying is that what the response has been evil. And here's what gets me. The response has also reflected the immaturity of political leadership in this country that has refused to be the big person in the room, the adult in the room.
Yes.
Martha, it bothers me because this country has 9/11, that Netanyahu, who is their nation's Trump, let's be honest, this country has 9/11. Netanyahu compared what happened last month to 9/11. Well, guess how this country responded to 9/11? Whack. It lied, and we all know that the first casualty of any war is the truth. This country lied about weapons of mass destruction. How many innocent Iraqi lives were killed because this country aimed at the wrong target, trying to pay back what took place on 9/11. So it seems to me, if this country had grown up politically, it would exercise moral authority and say to Netanyahu, going after everybody is no way to get back at Hamas. And so, number one, I'm just saying we have we have to be compassionate and concerned about all death that's being taken. At the same time, we have to understand that the response to this has been evil, downright wicked, wrong, and unjust. And the bottom line is Israel, because of their response, is less secure. Let's
That's
keep
right.
it up. You're less secure. We say it in this country: no justice, no
That's
peace.
right.
Until you have justice in Gaza, until you have justice in Palestine, you can't have peace in Israel. And so bombing and engaging
That's
these
right.
engaging in these indiscriminate attacks on innocent people who were already living under what President Jimmy Carter called apartheid, what Desmond Tutu
Right.
called apartheid, what Nelson Mandela called apartheid. Both of them said when they
Apartheid.
went to that area, they could not believe how similar what they experienced as they moved amongst their Palestinians, how similar it was to what they experienced during apartheid in South Africa. It's even called an open air prison. Now,
Right.
please tell me how that can be just and you can expect to have peace as long as there is injustice going on there in Palestine. And so I just want to say that, number one, we condemn all killings that have taken place. But
Yeah.
number two, I'm asking this country to grow up. Grow up and recognize you have a moral responsibility to not ask for more money to support this war. I got to quote Tupac right now. You know, it's funny, when it rains, it pours. We got money for wars, but we can't feed the poor. We got so much money that we are giving to wars. And even this particular war, and let me just stop and say this. How can it be a war when you are killing folk who can't fight back? That ain't no
Yeah.
war. That's called a massacre. It's called genocide. It's called ethnic cleansing, if we're going to be honest. And so please spare me this whole concept of we have a right to defend ourselves. You ain't defending yourself by killing kids. How is killing mothers and children and bombing hospitals and bombing refugee camps? How is that defending yourself, protecting yourself? That's not doing that. And so we're watching right now and evil take place. And my question is, if we believe God so loved the world, meaning God so loved everybody, then why are we going to be quiet about genocide that is taking place over in what is called the Holy Land? I was in a march yesterday. Deb and I went to march yesterday for peace and justice over there with our Palestinian brothers and sisters. And one sign read this: how do you call it a holy land when you're engaging in unholy massacre of God's children? That's a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah. 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 And what do you say to those who say, well, we'd stop bombing if Hamas would give up, and they're not going to attack us. Hamas wants to make Israel disappear. So what should Israel be doing? And so what do you say to people who argue that side? Because that's a lot of what our government is saying.
Oh yeah. And again, what Hamas has done, there is no way to justify that. I'll say this, that until we bring the leadership of Israel, Hamas, all persons involved and engaged to the table of diplomacy, until that is done, then it's really hard to say that there is, right on either side. And so I think that it's going to be very important to bring Hamas, because you cannot negate voices in this fight. You have to give people a voice who have been rendered voiceless. What did Martin King say when the explosions hit in the cities of this country in the 60s? Violence is the language of the unheard. If that is the case, then the sad reality is what Israel was the recipient of was the language of the unheard. And so as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be very necessary to bring to the table the leadership of the various factions there in the Middle East and Israel, and basically come up with a solution that all agree upon, that is not imputed upon them by the West, because the West loves to flex its military might and say, this is what you need. And so there's been talk about a two-state solution. The Palestinians I talk about, they say, we don't want a two-state solution. We want a one-state solution, a one-nation solution where everyone has the right to vote and express themselves through the franchise. And so I'm saying maybe we ought to listen more and talk less, and allow the persons who are directly impacted to come to a table of diplomacy and have an honest conversation about how to fix, and let's be real, what took place in the last century, in the 40s, when that area was carved out by the West in order to make room for those who had been persecuted in other places. But again, they displaced folk who were already living there without an apology, and then made it hard for them to live. And so my thing is, let's go ahead, acknowledge the history, bring people around the table, and look at how we can move forward with a solution that embraces and engages everybody.
And stop acting like apartheid is not insignificant. Okay, stop acting like that doesn't matter. Stop acting like that doesn't matter. Apartheid matters. It just
matters. Thank you. And again, for me in this country, we know what apartheid feels like. We experienced it ourselves, and our South African brothers and sisters, they know what that feels like. It's dehumanizing, it's unjust, it's unfair. And to act like it's not going on over there is a lie. And if the truth sets you free, a lie locks you up. And right now, it's a lot of locked up folk because they have bought into the lie that somehow over there, apartheid does not exist. Apartheid exists, and it ain't right.
All right. So you've given your stance on that issue. If you look at some of what you're trying to do as the president, let's say over the next 2 years, I'm not going to stretch you out to 5, 6, 7. Just tell me what are some of your top goals for the organization, you and the leadership, for the next 2 years? What are some of your top goals?
Well, number one, I think it's going to be very important that we pick up that baton Reverend Jackson gave us and fight for economic justice. I refuse to lie down, and in 2053, the net wealth of Black people is zero. That cannot be. And so it's very important. As I said, I'm about to go out to meet with the leadership of Toyota in the next hour. I'm looking forward to that meeting, and we are going to challenge corporations. Reverend Jackson put it this way: we don't want charity, we want parity. We want our fair share. We're going to challenge these corporations to invest in communities that they basically get rich off of. When you look at who drives cars, who drives the flyest rides, it's Black folk. And yet we can't own a dealership.
That's right.
We can't have procurement opportunities for our businesses. We can't occupy your C-suites and have positions of authority and power. And so it's going to be very important that we continue that fight for economic justice. The second piece for me, Martha, that is so crucial, and I just, I hate to say I was ignorant to how bad this was, and that is we got to fight for environmental justice. We are in the midst of a world that is on fire. We're experiencing a slow burn. But guess what communities are catching the brunt of it? It's Black, brown, poor communities. Cancer Alley ain't located in a white area, a white suburban area. It's located where you have Black and poor people. And so we've got to get serious about fighting climate change, but with an emphasis on fighting for environmental justice. I live in a city, Dallas, that according to Harriet Washington, in her amazing book entitled A Terrible Thing to Waste, the impact of environmental racism on the American mind, she says, and if you list the cities where there are a majority black, a majority of black people are living in those cities, and Dallas is one of them. She says Dallas leads the country in the number of days students miss school because of asthma directly connected to the air they inhale. Dallas leads the country. Right behind Dallas, you have the Bronx. Right behind the Bronx, you got Philly, you got Chicago. And I could call the roll of the cities in this country that are producing polluted, toxic air. Our kids are breathing, inhaling, catching asthma, probably don't have access to health care, and now they're missing days from school because of the air that they breathe. We have got to be engaged in the fight for environmental justice. The last piece is this, and that is next year is 2024, a major year by way of an election year. And we have a brain trust that we are putting together where we basically are talking about how we are going to not just impact the election in 2024, but how we are going to set an agenda for what will go forward 2024 and beyond. I came across this that blew my mind, and I hate to use this example because I don't like what they represented, but it worked. In 1980, Ronald Wilson Reagan, who was then governor of California, running for the presidency of this country, went to speak for the moral majority led by Jerry Falwell. And Ronald Wilson said to them, I know you all cannot endorse me because of your status, but I can endorse you. And we know what Ronald Wilson Reagan did as a result of basically recognizing the power wielded by the moral majority. And my thing is, I want to grow. I want us as a people, as a church, to grow and mature politically to the point where we don't just welcome politicians to our churches to get up and talk once a year when they need to get our votes, but we basically get them to say with Reagan, I know you can't endorse me, but I can endorse you. But they can't endorse us if we don't give them a vision and agenda. I spoke at a conference last week in Chicago, Live Free, their state meeting, powerful meeting. Pastor Mike McBride, my sister there, Sierra, doing big things. And one of the things that we shared is the fact that here we are with all of this juice, but we cannot just allow our juice to be used, squeezed for the benefit of politicians who want votes once or twice a year. We have a responsibility to cast a vision. And so my challenge to them was, to every preacher, every pastor, if your vision is just for your church facility, your church campus, that's too small. You can't say gospel love the world if you ain't got a vision for the community, a vision for the city, a vision for the state, a vision for the nation, a vision for the world. We got to start thinking God size, and a God sized vision ain't as small as your church.
All right now. Okay, so now you got some big stuff on your plate for the next 2 years. That said, you talked about what churches can do and building and having bigger visions. How can people around the country help help Rainbow Push achieve some of these goals? Tell me what can people do? I've already seen the people in the chat. One guy said, I live in DC. How can I sign up? Somebody else said, what can I do? What's my role?
Thank you.
Tell us, what can churches the small churches, the large churches, the denominations, what can they do?
That blesses me so much. Thank you. Because I want to promise this. Rainbow Push will remain faith-based. It will remain spiritually energized and fueled We will continue to unite in holy wedlock, spiritual anointing with social activism, piety with policy. We're going to continue to do that. So it means everything that my colleagues are feeling this, and that you have given me this opportunity to have this conversation with you and our clerical community. And so, first of all, I'm going to ask you, please, my beloved colleagues in the clergy, please join Rainbow Push. Go to our website, rainbowpush.org. I promise you, we will communicate with you beyond today to keep you informed as to what it is we are doing. Rainbowpush.org. We are asking every clergy person, every church member, please take out a membership, join Rainbow Push. But not only that, I got to be honest, I got to keep it real. I'm a preacher. It's offering time. We need some money to get this thing going. And in order for us to do what we have to do, I am committed to the fact that we can do this, knowing that the faith community is with us. And one way where your treasure is, there will your heart be also, is the necessity of financially supporting the work again. And so go to rainbowpush.org, and I want to keep you posted as to our upcoming conferences. I want to keep you posted when I'm coming to the various cities where you may be, to sit down and talk with you, basically to hear from you. Because one of the things that I've tried to do, Dr. Simmons, and that is to take this approach the way Nehemiah and Ezekiel did. And I'm in the Nehemiah and Ezekiel mode right now. Nehemiah, what did he do when he heard about what was going on in Jerusalem? He went in chapter 2 and surveyed the walls. He surveyed the damage. I'm in surveillance mode right now. But not only that, I love what Ezekiel did. Ezekiel, when the captives were in Babylon, he sat where they sat. And so I want to sit where we sit right now and hear from you. I've always been out and about traveling. It's picked up even more so now. And when I come to the various cities, I want to hear from you as to what are the needs. One of the things I'm so excited about, super bad sister, one of the baddest sisters preaching out here is in New York, Reverend Tish Dixon Williams. Reverend Tish Dixon Williams has presented to me a curriculum for empowering us through voting in the church in 2024. She put together a brilliant curriculum, and I'm letting y'all know it's that kind of stuff that basically says Rainbow Push ain't going to be a me thing. It's going to be a we thing, because there's too much prophetic talent out there. You know this, Dr. Simmons. It's a lot of prophetic talent out there. And I want to hear from y'all, because if Reverend Tish Williams can come up with a curriculum for preachers, for pastors, as it relates to what it means to mobilize for empowerment during an election year. She came up with this, and I'm going to get it out to all of us. I promise you, I'm going to get it out to all of us because I'm like this. Wow, she did that. Not Freddie Haynes. Tish Dixon Williams did that. How many other preachers are out there in seminary, first, second year, third year pastoring, doing other kinds of things in the ministry, in the streets? Listen, I need what God has poured into you. So we bring all of this together to literally turn this world upside down, a la Acts chapter 17, verse 6. So I'm excited about where we're going. But guess what? The operative word is we. We are going. It ain't a me thing. It's a we thing.
Yeah. Well, the reason I asked you as soon as the announcement was made to come on this broadcast is because I understand that it has to be a we thing.
Thank you.
And we can complain until the cows come home about what is wrong.
Right.
Okay. But at some point, you got to get in the game.
Come on now.
You got to get in the game.
Yeah.
You can't just say, this is wrong. They don't like young, don't do this. What are you offering? Did you reach out? Did you reach out to this president and say, I can do this? or Mr. President, how can I help you? How can my
Right.
city help you? Okay.
Right.
We have
Right.
got to get involved. I mean, things are so bad now. And I mean, we really, really don't understand what is happening in this country concerning education, economics, and the environment. I mean, it's stunning.
Yeah.
It's really, really stunning
Yeah.
how much is going on that preachers are just unaware of.
Right.
Just
Right.
unaware of. And we can't know everything, but we can lock arms with those who are fighting the fight.
Say that.
We just lock arms. I
Say
don't
that.
need you to do everything. Help
Right.
the willing to step up and fight the fight. And it's our victory. It's not Freddie
Our
Haynes'
victory.
victory. It's our victory. But we got to
Say
get
that.
in the game. We've got to
Yeah.
get in the game. So you told them to go to rainbowpush.org. Anything
Right.
else you want to tell the people? Anything other requests you want to make today?
I want to share this. You have a protege who I just absolutely admire, Reverend Dr. Willie Dwayne Francois.
My
And
goodness.
one of the things that brilliant prophetic powerhouse is always talking about, and I want to challenge all of us to think in these terms, and that is, he says, we've got to develop a policy agenda. It's not enough for us to simply, again, around election day, allow politicians to pimp us, come to our churches, tell us what they want. We have to develop a policy agenda. And I want to say to my beloved colleagues, Willie Dwayne Francois is on to something.
Yes.
We have to develop a policy agenda. And I want to even challenge us to develop a prophetic agenda, an agenda that informs our understanding of policies based on our justice consciousness, based on what is Amos saying. No, let's go with the priorities of Jesus. What does it mean for the poor to experience good news, for the captives to be set free, for the blind to receive sight? In those first three right there, you see some policy initiatives we can join in terms of when King died, he's fighting for what? A war on poverty. And then good news for the captives. That means we got to deal with our criminal justice system and our prison industrial complex. Jesus is talking also about eyesight for the blind. Of course, we all know we have a whack healthcare system that, as Obama said back in the day, is really a sick care system. Martha, I went to, when I was studying over in England at Christ Church, I got sick, had an asthma attack in England. They rushed me to the hospital, gave me what I needed to get healthy and whole. And when I got ready to check out, I asked them how much. They looked at me, laughed, said, "Oh, you must be from the United States."
My God.
It doesn't cost. I don't even live there.
Right.
And yet I had access to free health care. We call ourselves the greatest country in the world, and so many people in this country are dying because they don't have access to the same health care our congressional leadership has access to. And so I'm simply trying to say that we have to develop a prophetic agenda. And I want to just say, and Martha, thank you. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for what you do all year long in ministering to we who minister, but also in challenging us to be better. And so since you always challenge us to be better, or as they say in hip hop, do better, I'm simply saying do better and make up our minds. Let's develop this policy agenda, a prophetic agenda. And I am all ears. I want to hear from you as Rainbow Push develops its vision for where we are going forward. I'm Ezekiel right now. I'm trying to sit where you sit, hear what you are hearing and saying, and we can develop an agenda and move forward and make this world what it ought to be in the name of our Lord and Savior.
And I want to say to us today, because I said I was going to wait, I am going to rainbowpush.org today and taking out a membership. Today.
Thank you. That means a
Today.
lot.
That's the minimum level. That's the minimum
Yeah.
level of service. That's the minimum level, okay, that we need to do today. Today, okay? Whether you have to charge it to your church, whatever you have to do, you need to take out a membership. And then you need to get ready if you've got great ideas. You need to reach out. Don't
Please.
sit on the sidelines
Please.
complaining. Y'all
Thank
don't listen to young people. Willie Francois is not 40 years old. And did you hear how Dr. Freddie Haynes, Operation Push, called out this young brother? Okay? He is interested in hearing from you. Don't look back at what people didn't do in the past. Okay? Grab hold of this opportunities. I mean, I know so many talented young folk, some of whom are my kids in ministry,
you.
who
Yeah.
have the talent, they have the know-how, and a lot of them are on this broad. They're listening right now. Okay, they are listening. Get in the game. Get in the game. Once you make the attempt, you make the offer, you try to do something, then you've done your part. Don't just sit around and complain. Do
Right.
better than that.
Right.
Do better than that. Dr. Haynes, we're just about out of time. Are there any final words, anything else that you want to offer today?
I want to share this. Ironically, the conference I attended in Cleveland was a civil rights summit, where I got the intel about the Black vote being missing 9.5 million since 2012. You know who convened that civil rights summit? Willie Dwayne Francois, your protege.
I didn't know that.
He convened that summit. And
Yes.
as you said, he's not 40 years old. I need, first of all, my responsibility as an OG is to open the door and provide platforms for gifts like that, gifts like those who are a part of this call. Earlier, I saw in the chat Pastor Danielle Ayers. She is our pastor of justice at Friendship West. Shout out to Pastor Ayers. She's an amazing gift to the body of Christ, great preacher.
She's going to be on my
witness.
broadcast. Go ahead.
Oh, you better get out of here. Okay. All right. Okay. Bad sister. That's a bad sister right there. And Pastor Ayers, again, you're talking about someone who is not the senior pastor of a church, but she has accepted the call to prophetic witness. Right. And so I want to say this to my colleagues who are senior pastors, please, let's make room. I heard T.D. Jakes say this years ago, and I took it to heart. He said, I've reached a point in my ministry where I am no longer trying to be the star on the platform. I'm trying to create platforms. And I think that's where I am in my life right now. Got a big platform in Rainbow Push, but I have a responsibility now to create platforms, to be a platform for all of these stars who are out here, who are ready to shine. And I'm challenging my peers. Y'all, we've had our time. God has blessed us and we still have something to offer. But let's become platforms and create platforms so that, because, and I'm saying this on this platform because of what you're doing, Dr. Simmons, you basically have created a platform. You are a platform for young preachers, young pastors. And I'm simply saying, we're doing that at Rainbow Push. I need you. One of the things I'm going to be doing is a listening tour. And during this listening tour, as I go from city to city, I'm coming to hear from you, to hear, okay, what is it that we need to be doing? Because I want to thank God. Thank you, Martha, for saying this. Don't talk about what we ain't doing if you ain't going to help us get it done. If you help us get it done, You will not have to complain about what we ain't doing, because again, my whole concept is African. This ain't no me thing, it's a we thing. We've got to
That's
do
right.
it together. And our communities are catching too much hell. Our nation, this so-called democracy, is under attack, and it's going to call upon us to save it again. But we can't save it if we're on the sidelines. We've got to get engaged. We've got to get involved. And I am extending this opportunity. The doors of the church are open. Please join us. We need you, and we need to make some things happen. Again, Dr. Simmons, I love you. I thank God for you. We go a long way back, and it's been a joy to watch you being used by God on so many different platforms, making a difference. And then here's what kills me. I got a lot of nerve talking policy to a sister with a law degree. She ain't just got seminary training; she got a law degree. So forgive me for being
Okay,
presumptuous.
he's just carrying on now. He's doing hyperbole. He's doing hyperbole, and I
Where have I
remember
lied?
watching you do hyperbole at 16. That's how long. That's how far we go back, and throughout all of that over the decades, I am so proud.
Yeah.
Just so proud of all of the work that you have done at Friendship West through organizations. And I am glad that you are the person at the helm of this organization. Again, to everyone listening, this is going to be up on my page for a couple of weeks. Type in the name of another person who needs patient. And when the listening tour comes to your city, make sure you come and contribute. You can send in ideas to the website, and just you know how you all post those flyers saying where you gonna be for a month. Okay, you're gonna see those flyers, similar flyers saying this is where Operation Push is going to be. These people, the people behind Dr. Haynes now, okay, they understand tech. They understand tech. So you will see the message all over the place. You will see it again and again. And brothers and sisters, I really pray that you will get in the game.
Please.
Starting today. Dr. Haynes, again, I appreciate, I know you are traveling all over the world, but you took time out to share with my listeners today. And I really appreciate you. And I'm praying for you and your family and those who are with you in terms of your leadership. Those people, I'm praying for you all. God bless, and go give them hell at Toyota.
And you know this. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you for all you do. You're a gift.
Bless you, man. Take care.
Bless you. All right, you too.
And let me say to everybody listening again, next Monday, we got Dr. Ellison to talk about Black mental health. That is critical. That is critical. And as I always say, at the end of every broadcast, share the video. It won't cost you anything. Share the video.